Hey there, everyone. This is Jesse on another episode of Ask Ron. So we are going to go ahead and start. How are you doing today?
I'm outstanding.
Very good. All right, we're going to start with Mark Hershberger from Florida.
Mark.
His question is, my fiance and I have been together for 19 years.
What?
Not married at all.
Marry the woman, Mark, for crying out loud. What are you waiting on? 19 years.
19
Most
years.
marriages don't last that long, Mark.
Doing good.
Okay.
Would she be considered in my Lineage for Roth IRA and my LLC
No,
manager position?
she's not your wife. She's not in your whatever you call it, disqualified group. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Next question, Joshua Farber from Florida as well.
Joshua.
His question, I came across an interesting scenario, and since Ron teaches very creative scenarios, I'd like his opinion. So, boyfriend and girlfriend.
Imagine that's why you're asking the question. All right.
Scenario.
Yes.
Boyfriend and girlfriend buy a house in Florida together to occupy.
All right.
Both are on the mortgage and deed. Girlfriend gets mad at boyfriend and throws him out.
Right.
Boyfriend wants off title and mortgage but can't force her to refinance without going to court.
Right. Let me turn on. That's probably my wife calling for bread or something.
As an investor, is there any opportunity here?
Yeah. Well, okay. So you're on the outside. You're not the boyfriend, I guess. Look, both of them own the house. There's no way you can buy the house unless you get both signatures. And unfortunately, he's going to realize that he cannot get rid of her interest without her cooperation. So he probably ought to not get too unfriendly with her. And if they go to court, one of them might be able to force the other one to sell, but then you got to come up with the money to buy that one out. So anyway, from the outside looking in, it might be an opportunity there, but again, they both have to agree and they both have to sign the contract or you got nothing.
So his other last question of that is, should I have him sign over 50% to a new LLC that I control?
You could get his 50% for sure. Then you'll have to figure out how to get rid of her. I did that one time actually by accident. I bought a house from a loan company, and they quit claimed it to me. And that's why I learned the definition of quit claim deed, because they knew they were only selling me half of it. I did not know that. I found out after the fact. But finally, I got her to sell me her half for a very, very discounted price, because she can't do anything with her half unless she deals with you once you get his half. So I don't see where you have anything to lose as long as you don't put up a whole bunch of money, because I don't know how long it's going to take you to get good, clean title to the house.
All right, good. So
Now, problem is, I wouldn't be putting a tenant buyer in there until I got that settled. But if you get his half, then if she finds that out, maybe she'll be a lot more cooperative than if you don't own his half. Now, she'll be pissed for a while, so you're going to have to give her some time.
good. Next question, Chris Monroe from Missouri. In the event that a house was bought subject to several years ago and contact has been lost with the seller, are you aware of any way to reduce monthly payments without creating a new loan?
No, you cannot reduce the monthly payments because the loan is not in your name and the bank cannot cooperate with you by law. So the only way you can do that is a modification, and the seller must participate in that, and the bank will not do it if they find out that the seller doesn't live in the house anyway.
Okay, so the limited power of attorney has been signed.
The power of attorney is not going to let the bank deal with you. I just can't imagine them. Besides, they cannot change the loan without the signature of the person who borrowed the money.
Okay, got it here. Next question, Joe Sterling from Illinois.
Hey, Joe.
Okay, so his question is, could you answer the question about warranty deed to trustee? On page 1, could you give examples of who and what type of person, relation-wise, can be put in the fill-in-blank spaces that are on page 1, and who goes where and what is their role?
Wow. What was his name, Joe?
Joe Sterling.
Read the warranty deed very, very carefully, and you'll see that after every blank, there's the words beneficiary or the words trustee. The beneficiary, I believe, goes at the top, so that would be, no, let me figure. Let's say you're taking a deed from the seller. Well, the seller will sign where I don't have it in front of me. I wish I had one in front of me, but there's only two blanks that you care about, and that's beneficiary and trustee. The one that calls for the name of the trustee, it clearly says as trustee right after that blank. So the other one is the seller. Now, the attorney's filling this out anyway if you're closing and taking title from a seller. But if you're doing it on your own, just look for the words as trustee. And that's where your entity would go, as trustee in Illinois. And the other blank would be where whoever owns the house now. Let's say you own it in your name, then you're the seller. And then you got it. You're the seller. Trustee's the trustee. Once it's recorded, now the trustee owns the house for the beneficial interest of the trust. I'm sure that was very clear, Joe. But just read it very closely and they'll tell you.
Next question, Mary Ann Nunez from
Good old Mary
California.
Ann.
Yeah.
This woman has asked more questions on this Gold Club than any other human alive.
Here is her question this week.
Okay.
On the lease agreement that the seller signs at their house for number 2 regarding terms,
Right.
it asks for a commencing date and an ending date.
Right.
So if I'm waiting until I find a buyer first before closing, do I put TBD since the term won't start until I find a tenant buyer?
Well, you can. You can do that, or you can just put in a date. Maybe you put in a date a month after now, or maybe you even put in now, Mary Ann, because the term, when the lease starts, it really has nothing to do when the payment starts. It can be totally different dates. Of course, if you put in a term now, it takes you 2 months to find a tenant, then you're already 2 months into your lease with the seller, but you can do it either way, frankly. And don't forget, you can always just change a thing when you find a tenant buyer you like and tell the seller that we're a go. Okay?
All right, got it. Next question, Alan Caldwell from Washington.
Alan.
I am starting an LLC with LegalZoom, and they won't let me continue unless I tell them the name of my trust and who will manage my
What?
LLC.
What does a trust have to do with an LLC? I'm getting lost here. These are two totally different entities. It might be enemies, entities. Look, if you're forming an LLC, you have to tell them who the officers are and who the owners of the LLC are. A trust is not going to own an LLC. People are going to own LLCs. Now, an LLC certainly can be owned by another LLC, but trust has nothing to do with this. And just for the record, you don't have a trust, a land trust, I mean, until you deed the property into the trust. So you don't even have a trust. So I'm not really clear. Maybe you could clarify and resubmit that question, and I can give you a better answer.
Okay,
That's why the state's giving you a hard time.
got it. Next question, Chris Desisto from Florida.
Chris?
I came across some land, and I can buy pretty cheap.
Good.
I think I can flip it for decent profits.
Yes.
Buy for about $2,000 and sell for $4,000 to $5,000. I was thinking I would potentially sell it on terms, maybe just 2 to 3 year note to be paid in full.
Okay.
In Florida, does it matter if I use a CFD or note in my mortgage?
A CFD. I'm supposed to know what that is, I guess. Okay. In Florida, it's a note in a mortgage. Your attorney draws it up, and it's recorded, and it's not complicated at all. However, I'm not sure why you're selling it with owner financing. Keep in mind now, if they don't pay you, you got to foreclose to get it back, unless they'll deed it back to you. And geez, the foreclosure is going to cost you as much as your profit is on this thing. So I'm not sure I'd sell it. You can lease option that land a lot easier, and then if they don't pay you, you can just have them evicted as a tenant. Even though they don't live there, they still have a tenant right. I think carefully about selling it with owner financing with those small numbers.
Okay, he has a second part.
Anyway, it's a note and mortgage.
Got it. And he says, can I let the person start to build on the property before the deed has been transferred, or should I wait until it's paid off?
No. So if the person is going to build on the property during this time, then you might, there's a couple, 3 ways you can do this. The bank is not going to let that person build unless that land is free and clear, so they would have to pay you off when he gets a construction loan. So if that is the intent, why don't you just put it under contract and get a $2,000 deposit? And then give him whatever time he wants to get the construction loan and make it simple. Now, if he defaults, you keep your $2,000, you move on, there's no action to get the property back. You're welcome. I just saved you a bunch of money.
All right. And this week's last question, Dr. Larry Holtfrerich from Kansas.
Doc?
All right. I set up an LLC,
Uh-huh.
but I have not done any deals yet. What should I do next to make sure I get my asset protection organized properly?
Do deals. Larry, that's what you should do next. Okay, listen, if you haven't done any deals, why don't we not worry about that right now? And let's focus more on getting some money coming in the till. If you already set up an LLC, just do your deal in that LLC and make life simple and go get a check. And then come see me at Quick Start School, and we'll start this entity structuring asset protection stuff, and we'll continue that through business management school. But you better get the training if you haven't already done it. And then the entities can be set up along the way. I don't really want you setting up entities. I don't want anybody listening. You don't just go forming entities when you really don't know why you're doing it. Honestly, you need to get some help when you're doing this stuff. You better know what the tax consequences are of these entities. You better know how to own these entities if you want asset protection. So, this is all stuff that's easy for you to find out. By the way, I've got a brand new course. I just released it called Structuring Your Empire, and that's what it's all about. 2 days on that thing, and one of them was my attorney sitting right there beside me. So you might want to look into getting that. You should get an email on it. If you don't, contact our office. But it's a whole 2-day seminar we filmed on all kinds of asset protection, entity structuring, tax reduction, and the whole works, because we get so many questions like yours about it. So get your hands on that, and that'll probably solve your problem. But then you're going to need professional help to go any further on this estate planning, asset protection stuff. And you're not going to get it from me or from the Gold Club. You're going to have to get attorneys involved. So for right now, just buy a house. Just worry about buying a house and quit worrying about all the units. Now, if you've got other entity structuring issues in your life, I see you're a doctor. I don't know what else you have. But one of the benefits of getting this course that I just released is that you have the right to submit a form that's in it telling me about yourself, and then I will give you a written report on what I think you ought to do based on what you've got, and whether you're married, whether you got kids or all of that, and how you take title and so forth. And that would be a good step. And then you can take it from there. And by the way, one of the things that you can do when you turn that report into me, if you want me to have a 30-minute consulting session with you, just let me know and I'll do that. And then you can have your questions ready and I'll go through all of them the best I can. So we start with the easy stuff and we work our way on up. But honestly, with the information you've given me, I don't know what else to tell you. That it?
That's it. That's all the questions we have for this week.
All right. Well, golly, here we are at the end of August already, going into September. And that means 4 months left in this year. It's 4 months left for you to get something accomplished, so you can really get next year kicked off. And I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't been to the Quick Start School, come on. What are you waiting for? Gosh, we finance you. And if you want to buy and sell houses, there's no better place for you to go, because you're going to get the basic training you need. And we have really been having some really dynamic Quick Start Schools. In fact, we just did one in Orlando. We did 21 deals there for students. That was our record. We got 21 offers accepted and 21 terms deals negotiated in one 4-day Quick Start School. So go check it out. It's on our website, not hard to find. And I'll see you next week.